Hey guys, it's me, Nyx Morningstar, and I'm doing another video today. And the video I'm doing for today actually is based on me, believe it or not. I'm actually doing a video to tell you guys a little bit about me and where I come from and what I stem from and what I'm all about. Alright guys, so obviously my name is Nyx Morningstar. I'm a practitioner. I'm a left-hand path practitioner actually. And my journey, my story has actually been like a pretty interesting one. Since I was a child, I've had I've always had, certain things about me. Like I was always super sensitive, super attuned. I would always see things, I would always feel things, I would always hear things. I would always know things. When I was a kid, I was an honor roll student, but I barely ever opened up a book, and I barely ever ever really actually like truly studied. Like it literally was like for some reason, like I just connected to what I was supposed to connect to get the marks in school that I had to get. And when I was a kid in my early years, going into my teenage high school years, I was an atheist. I didn't believe in spirits. I didn't believe in gods, angels, demons, whatever. But energy was the first language that I learned. I felt energy. I saw energy. I felt the intuition, and it was within, like the energy, the colors, and the patterns and everything that I saw that I was actually able to like feel it out and feel out the vision of that. And eventually, with that, I actually started seeing real images when I was about like, 12, 13 years old. Oh, yes, I also vape. And then so then pretty much like as I was like getting into high school years and everything like that, I pretty much just kind of like started like winging it, and I pretty much like started practicing like certain energy workings and everything like that, doing spells and whatnot. Still not calling on to gods, angels, demons, ancients, whatever. And then pretty much for like, the most part, pretty much for the most part, like with that, I started taking the Buddhist route because Buddhism wasn't deity focused as much as it was principle and practice focused. And I thought, okay, you know what? Obviously, with what I'm going through right now and everything like that, Buddhism just seems like the right call for me because it's about energy, it's about balance, and it's about honing in on yourself as well. And that's where I stepped into Buddhism, which was actually like, a beneficial journey for me at the time. You know, then, then I got into Buddhism. Then I grew up, went to college, blase, 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 blah, you know what I mean? And took some, you know what I mean? And then I started actually like getting like into, stopped focusing on my spiritual being and focus on the physical being, dating, partying, all that stuff that we do when we're in our late teens and in our 20s. And I mean, literally, I was a wild party animal. I was always at a bar or club or a rave, like pretty much like almost every night of the week, sleeping maybe 2 to 3 hours a day, and so forth and so forth, you know. Then I started like, getting into my personal life, hanging out with like actual like real friends, going on dates, getting into relationships. I was engaged 3 times before the age of 30. And yeah, third time's a charm. If the third time didn't work, guess what, guys? Sorry to tell you, I'm not getting engaged again. If I were to ever get married now at this point in my life, it would be it'd be like one of those sporadic moments of like we both wake up and say, "Hey, you want to take a trip to Vegas?" Yeah, and then on a drunken night in Vegas, boom, bam, boom, wedding ring. That would be like the only way I would probably get married. Or maybe if we woke up like one day and say, "Hey, let's go to City Hall." Okay. Two ways, I'm sorry, two ways. City Hall or Vegas. There's only two weddings I'll take now. Anything else is not going to happen with me. And then, and then from, but yeah, no, so then from that point, you know what I mean? After the breakup with my second fiance, because when I got with my first fiance, there was issues about my spirituality, so I put that on hold, because I wanted the quote unquote normal life of quote unquote being normal. And then when the second fiance came around after the first fiance ended, that's a whole entirely different story that has nothing to do with my spiritual path now. So I won't go into details as to why those relationships didn't work. So when my second fiance came, and I was still doing that whole thing of like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to expose my craft. I'm not going to expose being a witch. I'm not going to expose anything like that. Because my second fiance was hardcore Roman Catholic. And so, and one thing I noticed while I was in a situation where I couldn't be spiritual, where I couldn't be who I truly was, I was substituting my freedom and, the comfort of being able to be me with, filling that void up with food. I would eat like a whole bunch of like junk food for comfort food because I had myself trapped. I had my spirit trapped in this. And don't get me wrong, like that I'm not saying that if you can't be a spiritual person and have a normal life, by all means, yes, you can. You can be a spiritual person with the normal life, and you could be, and it's about working the two and having the two work together. It's not about keeping the two separate, was what I learned after my second relationship. And so, then after the second relationship, I felt free at the time, even though I was heartbroken from the loss of that second relationship second with my second fiance, you know, while I felt like hurt and heartbroken and broken, I felt free to actually be who I really am, to actually be the witch, the practitioner, the occultist that I am. So I got back into it again, and it was literally going on full force. Things were happening a whole lot faster. Things were like boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, wow, I'm totally rocking this out. And then basically pretty much, I was and pretty much like at that point was after my second relationship was when I actually started encountering entities, encountering deities, encountering beings in the non-physical sense of things. And so it kind of like shifted me from even more from atheism and Buddhism, into, okay, wow, so there actually are, you know what I mean? So there actually are like beings and entities that are out there, and it's not just energy from, this is me speaking from my experience. So, and then a few incidents, so a few incidents had happened, and I like there was a point where I was like literally considered dead for about 6.5 minutes, and I like somehow snapped out of it. There's a lot that happened in those 6.5 minutes that I'm really not going to get into and share because again, that's something that's staying with me. You know what I mean? And so, so that's when I really had my like true, like more of a, okay, like I started going further into the left hand path and the entities of the left hand path because it was like it was those beings affiliated with the left hand path that were there with me and brought me back safe and sound from when I had died for 6.5 minutes. And yeah, so there's that right there. I'm not going to discuss to you what happened because that's a little bit of a personal story of mine that I'm not really feeling to talk about. So then I'm like slowly dabbling into it where I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm not fully left hand path, but I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this. And then then I got into my third relationship, and, my third fiance was actually really cool about it and was trying to get into it as well, but there was a lot of problems that occurred into the relationship that we, had with each other, that were not magic related, but actual like relationship related problems that caused a lot of conflicts and made a highly toxic situation in my life. And so, then that led to another situation where I had been in a coma for, 3.5 to 4 days. And, with that, I encountered, my patroness in the left hand path. And, she had a personal heart to heart one talk with me that also I'm not sharing on here because, again, that's a personal message for me, not for me to air out to everybody else. And I know you have a lot of practitioners who show pictures of their altars, videos of their altars, pictures of their workings, videos of their workings. My advice is, I personally am against those things of that nature because my personal view and standpoint is your items, your workings, your altar, everything of that is sacred. It is something that is not meant to be showcased around to social media platforms. You don't need all those other energies coming into your sacred thing and contaminating it. If you're posting up pictures or videos of your spell work, you do not need to show that because people will use that energy for themselves, or they will like misdirect it with their own energy. Sorry, I just have to give that out there. But also, then, that discussion that I had with my patroness had happened, and she explained to me and told me so much more about myself and who I really am, and then so then like when I like woke up, I literally, when I woke up and got out, I literally like, left the hospital, grabbed my things from my ex-fiance's place, left him high and dry without even knowing where I was going or what I was doing. And I left Florida and I came to New York. And that's when I started getting more in depth in the left hand path practices, more in depth in the more in depth in me being liberated, more in depth into my self freedom, more in depth into more in depth into being who I am and exploring my path, exploring my options, testing out my waters in the left hand path and, seeing like which works for me and which doesn't work for me on certain things. Because at the end of the day, people can tell you, hey, don't do this, do it this way, don't do this, do it this way. And the truth is, no, do it. Do whatever your fucking heart wants because no one is you. No one knows exactly what you do, what you feel, what you're capable of. The only person who knows that is you. And if you stay in the box of what you're capable of, you're never gonna reach higher than what than what you've deemed yourself capable of, what people have deemed you capable of. So that's my encouragement message right there too is, guys, don't be afraid to go out and explore the shit. Explore the fuck out of shit. Make it your own way. Make it you. And then I started getting more active into the Facebook groupings of the left hand path and everything like that, which, by the way, just to let you guys know, also, be careful with a lot of the groups and a lot of the occultists that you follow and everything like that as well, because basically, with the left hand path being about being your own savior, your own salvation, and everything of that nature, not having masters, being liberated, and being your own self. You have a lot of people in those communities who will try to knock you down. You have a lot of people in those communities who don't want you to rise above them, because people have this concept and this mindset that, I call it the Highlander mentality, where there can be only one Highlander. And it's not that way at all whatsoever. My personal view, and one thing that I always try to enforce is I'm the one. You're 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 the one. The moment we identify who we are, the moment we identify ourselves, the moment we identify, you know what I mean, what we are, the moment we embrace every aspect of ourselves, we are the one. We all are the one. You know, so so there was getting into the groups, facing certain dramas with certain people, which by the way, also guys, unlike a good 80% of the occultists who do videos and lives and live posts and everything like that, you know, I I have issues with people all the time. I face people all the time. I have people who disrespect me all the time. I have people I stand up for myself with all the time. I will never put them on blast on a social media platform, for the main reason of I am better than that. I, operate at a higher frequency than those people. So also when you're following someone in the occult community, know what you're following. If the person is there constantly trashing people on his, videos or her videos, and is constantly going about like who's wrong in a situation or who's right in a situation, is that the person you really want to take learning advice from or lessons from? Because, yeah, you know, yeah, that's all I just gotta say is yeah. So that's my advice right there, guys, as well, is and for those of you guys who do videos and do social events and everything like that, know that yes, it's okay to have issues with people. Yes, it's okay to be upset at people and everything like that. But as public practitioners, I feel like we have a duty to the public. I feel like we have a duty, to the people who come to us, the people who seek us, to show them the best form of who we are, to show them our more mature side, to show them that, yes, that person over there may be talking shit about us, but I'm about my craft. I'm not about human petty high school bullshit. And so, getting into the groups, and I've made friends along the way as I got into the groups, as I got into the study sessions and everything like that. I've lost friends along the way because, a lot of people, again, in the occult community happen to be petty bitches at time. And, everybody wants you to listen to them communicate, but nobody wants to hear you communicate, and so that's another problem as well. You have people who will, especially on the social media platforms, you have people who will be brave and say shit, you know what I mean, and messages to you and everything like that. But the moment they say what's on their mind, they're going to hit that block button because they're afraid of retaliation, and so forth and so forth. And my personal view is, as well, on top of that, is everybody is entitled to have their own opinion. They don't have to agree with your opinion. They don't have to agree with my opinion. But if you're going to speak out against someone's opinion, then at least have the mindset to listen to them speak back about their opinion. It's about being courteous. And so then, getting into this groups, making friends, then, I decided, hey, I do readings for people on, on a physical platform. Let me get into doing readings, via internet. So, I have my business, my own personal business now called Eye of Lotus. And the symbology for that was the lotus flower grows in like the swampy mud water and it rises up to the top. And once it gets to the top of the water, it blooms open. So pretty much stating that, like, you come from shit, but you grew and you flourished from the shit you came from. So that's why I chose, Eye of Lotus, because it's about all of us. We all are the lotus. We all are, shooting up from the mud through the water, and we all are blooming. So that's why the name Eye of Lotus is sacred to me as well. All right, guys. So, so then I got into readings, and so, as my online readings started to progress and everything like that, I decided that, what, I read runes, and so let me start making runes. And so I make runes. I make rune talismans as well. And and I also make like other, talismans in general and charms and everything like that as well. So I have those on market as well in my business. And so, so far that's the story that I have going on so far, from where I started to being Nyx Morningstar, and have and my brand Eye of Lotus. And so thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. And I hope you guys, find a connective factor to me from watching this video. Thank you guys so much. Blessings and tidings to you all.